There was a 7-year-old girl who was exceptionally talented at math. On her first day of school, a teacher asked the class a simple math question: what is 3 plus 3? While most students excitedly raised their hands to answer, one little girl rolled her eyes and questioned, "Are you serious, teacher? You don't know what 3 plus 3 is? What kind of school is this?" Taken aback by her attitude, the teacher called on her to stand up. To challenge her, the teacher posed a tougher problem. "What is 9 plus 8? The girl sighed, visibly annoyed, and quickly replied, 17. Surprised, the teacher raised the difficulty. "All right, what is 15 plus 17? Without hesitation, the girl gave the correct answer, leaving the teacher stunned. Still determined to stump her, the teacher asked, "What's 57 plus 135? The girl calmly answered again without pausing to think. The teacher, who needed to mentally calculate it herself, was left speechless. The classroom challenge continued as the teacher tried a new tactic. "What about 57 multiplied by 135? This time, the girl paused briefly to think. The teacher felt triumphant. Finally, a question to stump her. But before she could move on, the girl said, 7,695. In disbelief, the teacher pulled out her calculator to check. The answer was spot on. As the class murmured in amazement, the girl went even further, calculating square roots in her head. Realizing she had an exceptional talent in her classroom, the teacher called in the principal. When the principal arrived, the girl turned to him and said, "Call my guardian and tell him to take me home. I don't want to stay in this lousy school." The principal was stunned into silence. When the girl's guardian was called to the school, the teacher explained, "Your niece might be a mathematical genius. She's doing problems even sixth graders struggle with and can solve complex equations in her head." The guardian, unimpressed, said, "I could do this at 8 years old. Does that make me a genius?" Curious, the teacher searched online and discovered that the girl's mother was a renowned mathematician who had tragically taken her own life 6 years earlier. Since then, the girl had been raised by her uncle. On a school field trip, a troublemaking student began picking on others. The girl stepped in and scolded him. He sneered, "What are you going to do about it?" Without hesitation, she grabbed a book and charged at him. Once again, her uncle was called in. This time, instead of expelling her, the school offered to recommend her to a special academy for gifted students. Tuition would be waived, and she would have access to the best resources. The uncle, however, declined. He didn't want her treated like a special case, fearing she'd follow in her mother's tragic footsteps. He wanted her to grow up as a normal child, happy and free from the burdens of greatness. The school's persistence in sending her to the special academy led to an unexpected visit. The girl's maternal grandmother, a famous mathematician herself, appeared for the first time in the girl's life. Learning of the girl's talents, the grandmother sought custody to mold her into a successor who could complete her mother's unfinished work. But the uncle refused, unwilling to let history repeat itself. The battle for custody moved to court. Though the grandmother gained visitation rights, she was denied full custody. On one of their visits, the grandmother took the girl to her mother's old university, introducing her to a top mathematics professor. He presented a challenging problem, hoping to test her limits. The girl stared at the problem for a long time, leading the professor to conclude she lacked her mother's brilliance. Frustrated, the grandmother berated her, "You're not like your mother at all." In a calm but firm voice, the girl said, "The problem is unsolvable because it's written incorrectly." Shocked and intrigued, the grandmother pulled her back to the classroom. With poise, the girl corrected the problem and wrote out complex formulas, filling several blackboards with her elegant solutions. The professor asked, "Why didn't you speak up earlier?" She replied, "My uncle told me not to correct adults too quickly." This encounter further fueled the grandmother's determination to gain custody. She enlisted the help of the girl's estranged biological father. Though he had abandoned them before her birth, his status as a parent gave him legal rights. In court, his lack of involvement was obvious. He couldn't even spell her name. The judge dismissed his claim, granting custody back to the uncle. That night, the girl locked herself in her room, devastated by the revelation of her father's existence and his neglect. Her uncle, sensing her pain, took her to a hospital's maternity ward. Together, they watched as a new family welcomed a newborn with tears and joy. He whispered, "This is what it was like when you were born, a miracle and a blessing." This simple act of reassurance lifted the girl's spirits, showing her that her life mattered. Despite the ongoing custody struggle, financial strain weighed heavily on the uncle. Supporting the girl's growth and education became increasingly difficult. One day, a lawyer warned him that his stubbornness was endangering her future. Torn, he made the painful decision to place her in a wealthy foster home to ensure her stability. The girl, feeling abandoned, pleaded with him not to leave her. Fighting back tears, he promised it was for her sake. Sadly, the new home was secretly controlled by the grandmother. During one visit, the uncle was barred from seeing her. Realizing the manipulation, he discovered that the girl's beloved pet cat had been sent away, an act he knew the grandmother was behind. He raced to the house, where he found the girl being pressured into solving complex problems by her grandmother and a visiting professor. The girl ran away, angry and hurt, accusing her uncle of breaking their promise never to leave each other. Holding her tightly, he apologized, vowing never to let go again. Empowered by their bond, the uncle stood up to the grandmother, revealing a secret. The girl's mother had completed her groundbreaking work but withheld its publication to punish her mother. The revelation left the grandmother shattered. The uncle and the girl moved forward together, balancing academic rigor with joyful childhood moments. He enrolled her in MIT but made sure they spent weekends at amusement parks, blending learning and play. He understood that nurturing her brilliance required freedom, love, and laughter.